Typically when we think about a great play in sports, we gravitate towards the big offensive highlights, the slam dunks, the home runs, the goals, and the touchdowns. But for every big offensive play that is made, there is an opportunity to make an equally dramatic defensive play. And the skill that is consistently the driving force behind these defensive plays is lateral speed. Think about the big stops made by players in the position of goalkeeper, point guard, linebacker, and shortstop. All of their great defensive plays require exceptional lateral speed. In this section, we will address proper lateral movement mechanics and will demonstrate a dozen drills designed to enhance lateral speed and to produce a smothering defense.
Like all forms of movement, there is a right and a wrong way to move laterally. Here Andre is demonstrating a basic lateral slide. As he moves to his left, you will notice that Andre always has one foot on the ground and that his feet are never closer than shoulder width. He never hops and he never allows his feet to knock into each other. Each slide is a constant push with the back leg and pull with the lead leg. By eliminating any and all hopping, Andre ensures that he always has one foot in contact with the ground, thus enabling him to react to any subsequent motions by the offensive player. By not allowing his feet to come any closer than shoulder width, Andre ensures that he is always in a balanced position where he can react in either direction. The key coaching points for lateral movement can simply be reduced to don't hop and don't let your feet touch together. That's it. It's very simple, but it's also not something that young athletes just do naturally. With a little bit of coaching and reminding, a young athlete can pick up the basics of lateral movement and quickly turn it into second nature. Continuing to build off previous teachings, the athlete should have their body weight on the front of their foot and should be in a bent knee, flat back position. Because the upper body plays little role in lateral movement, we simply remind our athletes to keep their upper bodies relaxed. Once an athlete has been taught the basics of lateral movement in one direction, they must be schooled on switching their motion from left to right, all while maintaining perfect slide technique. The easiest way to begin teaching this is to set up two cones and to have your athlete slide laterally to one cone, change direction, and slide right back to the starting point. Athletes must be able to move quickly and efficiently to both their left and their right, and must be able to smoothly transition between the two. Watch closely as your athlete changes direction at the cone. This should involve only one hard plant with the lead foot rather than a shuffling of the feet. There should be little to no change in rhythm moving to the left as compared to moving to the right. To further teach lateral movement, stand behind your athlete during the slide drill as Andre and I are demonstrating here. As the athlete slides from one cone to the other, clap your hands at random intervals. As soon as the athlete hears the clap, he must quickly reverse his motion. The same drill can be conducted using touch as the command that the athlete reacts to. By adding a device called a sidewinder, we can increase the difficulty of our various slide drills. The sidewinder consists of two ankle cuffs that are connected by a piece of flexible rubber tubing. This device is unmatched in training lateral speed, and you will see it used in several other drills on this video series. Here Adam and Taboris are demonstrating the same slide and react drill shown earlier, except that Adam is wearing a sidewinder. By adding the sidewinder, Adam is forced to concentrate harder on maintaining proper mechanics and must recruit more muscles in his hips and lower extremities to deal with the added resistance the sidewinder provides. We will now introduce you to one of the most simple and fun training devices in existence, the breakaway belt. This is a training device that we use for a number of lateral speed and change of direction exercises. We use it because it is highly effective and because after we pull it out, our athletes won't put it down. Becca and Alexanne are demonstrating a drill we call the hunter and rabbit. In this setup, Becca on the left is the rabbit and Alexanne on the right is the hunter. The athletes face one another and are connected by the Velcro on the breakaway belt. Both athletes are only allowed to move laterally between their two cones. Our rabbit, Becca, has 10 seconds to break away from our hunter, Alexanne. During that 10 seconds, Becca will try to juke and fake Alexanne out and create just enough lateral separation between the two that the Velcro on the belts breaks apart. You will notice that our athletes occasionally get a little anxious during this drill and that they open their hips and cross their feet. This is not part of textbook lateral mechanics, and we will slowly work with them to correct this. In the meantime, we'll cut Becca and Alexanne a little slack. they are only 8 years old. By adding a sidewinder to our rabbit, as we have done here to Andre, it makes it much more difficult for him to break away from the hunter. We could just as easy add the sidewinder to the hunter and increase the difficulty of that athlete's task, or put a sidewinder on both of them to cancel out the advantage and force both of them to work a little harder. The snake mimic is set up and conducted the same as the last, except that we have constructed a curved, snake-like path the athletes must follow. The rabbit is still trying to break away from the hunter, but both athletes now have to navigate the tricky turns of the path. Cutting across curves is not allowed and will disqualify the athlete from the game. Becca and Alex Ann are demonstrating the alligator charge game. We have placed Becca between two cones and told her that she can only move laterally between them. Alex Ann has been placed in a starting position about 5 yards in front of Becca. For Alex Ann, the goal of the game is to cross Becca's line without getting touched. This game recreates a very common situation in many sports between offensive and defensive players. This game also helps to teach athletes the advantages of using proper lateral movement mechanics. For example, if Becca hops when she moves laterally, Alex Ann will find it easier to get past the line. In other words, once an athlete's feet leave the ground, they cannot redirect until they have landed. By using the constant push-pull motions discussed at the beginning of this section, Becca will have a better chance at winning the game. Adjusting the widths of the cones or adding a sidewinder to the defensive player will affect the difficulty of this game as well. One of the best exercises for lateral speed is the sandwich drill. Here we have placed our athlete, Daphne, between two cones. Like the other exercises in this section, she may only move laterally on the line between the two cones. I'm located 5 yards in front of her and have a half dozen wiffle balls. Daphne's goal is to prevent any of the balls from getting past her. She must quickly react laterally to the balls as they are thrown and then bat them down with both hands. We instruct our athletes to hit the balls with both hands so they can't reach way out to the side with one arm rather than move their whole body. You will notice that Daphne has very little time in between each throw, and that after each throw she is attempting to move back towards the center of the line to ensure she is in the best possible position to react to the next throw. Once again, by placing a sidewinder on Daphne, we can make the game more difficult. The game stays the same, but the added resistance makes it harder for her lower body to keep up with the reaction signals being sent by her eyes and her mind. Like the others, this exercise may be done on a variety of surfaces with athletes of almost any age from most any sport. Here Ruffin is going through the same exercise in a racquetball court. In fact, it's an excellent idea to have athletes train on a variety of surfaces rather than only the one on which they compete. Another one of our favorite training tools is called a Viper. A Viper is composed of a waist belt, which goes on the athlete, an 8-foot flexible rubber tube, and a safety handle for the coach. While we have been using the sidewinder to apply resistance to an athlete's lower body, we use the Viper to resist the athlete's entire body. By using the Viper in our sandwich drill, we create some unique training conditions. In this setup, Rusty assists in anchoring the free end of the Viper's flexicord. As Ruffin moves away from Rusty, he must move through the resistance of the flexicord. But as Ruffin moves for balls towards Rusty, the stored tension on the flexicord actually assists him in the movement, pulling him to the ball. This is a great example of quick contrast training where the athlete experiences a sudden change from resistance to assistance. This type of training teaches athletes to perform under a variety of quickly changing conditions. This final version of the sandwich drill places the athlete in a position facing a wall. The instructor throws the balls at the wall, and the athlete must react to them as they come shooting from his blind spot. This version can continue to progress by adding a sidewinder or Viper. Here Renice is demonstrating a lateral let-go exercise. We have placed a padded belt around her waist and apply resistance by holding the strap on her right side. Renice's job is to slide from the first to second cone as fast as she can, and then turn and sprint as soon as she feels the instructor let go of the belt strap. The resistance being applied forces Renice to really use her right leg like a piston to push her through the motions. The short sprint is used to simulate game conditions where the athlete defends laterally and then turns and sprints as the offensive player commits. We could further simulate this situation by having the athlete sprint after a ball from their particular sport. In this case, with Bernice, we would use a soccer ball. Our final lateral speed drill, and the most difficult, is a single leg lateral hop. Like the previous exercise, this one isolates the pushing motion of the trail leg in a lateral motion. We are again using the Viper in this demonstration. Bernice will hop to her left as fast as possible using only her trail leg. As she hops, we are applying resistance to her through the rubber flex cord of the Viper. Notice that as Bernice hops, the instructor slowly moves with her so the flex cord does not become dangerously overstretched. This drill is extremely challenging because it requires a great deal of balance and strength, but athletes that master this drill and the others in this section will quickly develop the skills to apply lockdown defense to any of their opponents.